Well, we have video footage of people for minutes yelling, "There's a man on the roof with a gun." Why the delay? Ms. Cheatle is going to have to fall on a sword here. And she will. She'll be fired or resign. That's what's going to happen. She may not know it yet, but that's what's going to happen. So when you see the Democrats agreeing today, "Oh, you're doing a terrible job," make no mistake, this isn't that they've turned a leaf. So the big takeaways from the testimony to me was sort of how she was able to answer specific things. For example, she answered specifically that she knew there were bomb-sniffing dogs there. But she couldn't answer if there were drones there. Why? Why not? Now think about this. The standard answer to these sorts of things is, "Well, I can't give you details because there's an ongoing investigation." I can't. There's an ongoing investigation. She says that investigation will take 60 days, maybe more. So we won't know. And she doesn't want to give answers that she's not confident in during an ongoing investigation. Okay, that's garbage, but let's take it at face value. Okay, then until the investigation wraps up, she doesn't want to give us little parts of what she knows because it might give a misleading interpretation to the people. Or perhaps those facts will change as their investigation proceeds. But then why can she talk about all sorts of things? Like, she says she's pretty sure it was one gunman. Why say that? Why say, "We don't know, there's an ongoing investigation"? Why speculate there? Why tell us facts about drug-sniffing dogs being there? And there was a bunch of other facts that she said of that nature. But then when asked specifically, how many bullet casings were there? "I can't tell you." Do you know the answer? Yes. The FBI told her how many casings were on the roof, but she can't tell us. Why? She could speculate that it was one shooter. She could tell us about the bomb-sniffing dogs. She could tell us a bunch of other details that seem to benefit her narrative. But selectively, all of a sudden, it was, "Well, the things that you want to hear, sorry, I can't tell you." She couldn't tell us a timeline of when things occurred. She relied heavily on this because she knows that the narrative is true, that basically there was reporting of this guy, of the assassin, would-be assassin. There was reporting of him being suspicious for like an hour or so before. I don't know the exact time myself, which is excusable because I'm not the Secret Service director like Cheatle. Nonetheless, over an hour before, they found him with a rangefinder. Then there were reports up to 20 minutes before of him being a suspicious person. She claims that a suspicious person is different than a threatening person, because you may say, okay, well, if the Secret Service knew there was this suspicious person out there, and he had a rangefinder, and they may or may not have, it's hard to get answers from her, knew he was climbing a roof and was on a roof, why didn't they usher Trump off stage until they were able to intercept the person? And her answer to that, seemingly, again, she's very evasive, and her answers are, if you're listening, they're very selectively picked for a reason. She says, well, that's because it wasn't a threatening person, it was a suspicious person. We only consider the person threatening if we see a weapon. So in other words, you thought when you go to the airport, have you ever had this happen? I've had this happen. I've not been to the airport very often. And they have a suspicious package, like someone leaves their backpack on the ground and walks away. The airport will literally delay flights until they are able to check out that suspicious package. But not the Secret Service. The Secret Service says, well, until we get there, we'll just leave people mill about the package and we won't stop anything. That's what she says. Maybe that is the policy of the Secret Service, which seems insane. But that's what she says. And so then it's like, well, okay. Well, we have video footage of people for minutes yelling, there's a man on the roof with a gun. Why the delay? And her response, what she's intuiting without saying it, is basically going to be this. Well, the local law enforcement were made aware, but they didn't have any sort of communications with Secret Service. That's what the defense is going to be, if you intuit what she's saying. She's going to say, we didn't know. Other agencies on the ground were like, okay, this is highly suspicious, but we didn't know. So how will we figure out? How would you figure out who knew what, when the Secret Service knew? If you were investigating this, what would you do? What would you look at to find out when there was communications between officers that were aware of this suspicious person and the Secret Service? Put your investigator cap on. What would you do? I know what I would do. The very first thing in my search for evidence to see what the communication failures were between local law enforcement. No, it's not a post-incident report. That could be, if you screw up and then you write a report why you screwed up, that's not direct evidence. What would the direct evidence be? Where would you look? You're just going to go to them afterwards and say, what did you know? That's not what I would do. I would do that. I would interview everyone. But I would certainly know that there is evidence that I would look at. What would that evidence be? Well, the evidence would be the radio communications. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen law enforcement action, such as a parade, a football game, any sort of public event. What you see is that most security, law enforcement professionals, etc., have some form of radio device, whether it be sort of walkie-talkie type things, etc. That would seem to be a place to look. Because if local police says, we received word of this suspicious person at 5:40, and we radioed into Secret Service, hey, there is a suspicious gentleman at a building about 140 yards. He seemed to go around behind the building. He had some sort of package. It looked very suspicious. Does anyone know what the problem is with that? Anyone know what the problem with, I myself, if I was investigating, would listen to the radio recordings? The problem is, according to Cheatle, there are no recordings. There's none. There is no record of that sort, of the communications. Now, your local police force, how many times have you watched a show about law enforcement where they'll have recordings of 911 calls or recordings of the police calling dispatcher and telling the dispatch, hey, we got a man on foot. He's running on, 6th Avenue there. He's in a black t-shirt. That doesn't exist, apparently, for the Secret Service. They don't have that. Much like the FBI is incapable of having recordings. Remember? When the FBI interviews you, they don't have this. They don't have a phone. They just don't have them. When the FBI interviews suspects, they don't record it. Instead, they keep notes. And those notes become the official record. And if you're the suspect being interviewed and you say, I didn't say that, and the FBI will go, yeah, you did, our notes say it. And you say, but I didn't. They'll say, yeah, you did, the notes say it. And that's it, you lose. And you'd say, can we bring up the recording? I didn't say it. And now we didn't record it. Am I allowed to record it myself? No, you're not allowed to do that.